By now, most, if not all of you were aware, unless you were hiding under a rock, that Russell Westbrook and the Los Angeles Lakers experiment last season did not go very well. Now, the Lakers are trying to find a trade for Russell Westbrook, but there's always the possibility that Russ stays with the Lakers for this year. They kind of ride it out. His money falls off the books, and, maybe they can go after like a Kyrie Irving or, maybe a Gary Trent Jr. or something along those lines to maybe upgrade and help this team out. Now, when the Lakers originally got Russ, the idea and intention was to have Russ be sort of LeBron's alleviant, right? LeBron wants to play more off the ball. He doesn't want to have to be the point guard duties. Even though the Lakers won a championship with him as the point guard, still, he's getting older. He doesn't want the responsibilities and that workload of having to facilitate and control the games and stuff. He wants to be able to work more off the ball. Problem is that Russ and LeBron just didn't seem to fit very well. But new coach, new players, new environment, new atmosphere. Russ and Darvin Ham seem to be like inseparable, right? They're like buddy. Russ is at like every press conference, really showing that he's bought in. Now, that just kind of seems to be, he's showing face. He's trying to get a new contract. He wants to show that he's a team player. He doesn't want to look bad for other teams or even the Lakers, stuff like that. And there's even reports that most people aren't buying what the Lakers are selling as far as like Russ is this, change guy and he's willing to do this, that, and the other. Darvin Ham has relayed on several occasions how excited he is for Russ, Patrick Beverley even, and Darvin Ham has even said, that Russ, Russ is going to improve, he's going to play defense, he's going to shoot corner threes, he's going to do this, that, and the other, and maybe Russ does, and maybe it works. If they could figure out a way to get Russ to work and Darvin Ham can really get the most out of Russ, I think that the Lakers could be scary next season because they would have a legit big three. If Russ could average that 18, 7, and 7 like he did last season, but effectively, that's the difference. Last season, he wasn't very effective nor very efficient. If you watch the games, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If he could get that stat line, but effectively, this team is really good because now the Lakers have a legit 18, 7, and 7 third option. How many teams in the league actually have something like that? Not very many, if none at all. But we got a report from Brian Windhorst that says, based on the executives I'm talking to, they believe that the Lakers have come to the conclusion that they are not going to trade Westbrook now because they don't like any of their offers, and they're going to try to make the best of it and see what happens. That's what the executives think. This is what Brian Windhorst said on the Hoops Collective, and now here's the thing. There are all kinds of trades, right? Teams want Russ, not for Russ as the player. They want his contract. They want to be able to unload salary, and they want the Lakers' first-round picks. But the Lakers are in a very tough spot because, one, they want to preserve cap space, and two, they don't want to trade those picks for just role guys that don't make them better. I know a lot of people look at it as F them picks, get the deal done. You're wasting another season, this, that, and the other. But which trade is going to make us that much better than an effective Russ? I'm saying if Russ can be efficient and effective, he's going to provide more than the Jazz trade, than the Pacers trade, than any of these trades. But that's the big question mark. Can Russ be that guy? Problem is, all of these deals, they want too much. The Pacers deal, right? They wanted THT, both first-round picks, the Lakers to take on Daniel Tice for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. That's insane. That's more than what the Kyrie trade was. That's ridiculous. There's no way the Lakers could do something like that. The Knicks trade, that could be something that could work out. But what are the Knicks asking for? Everybody's been everybody that's reported the Knicks' interest, they've all said, then there's no way the Knicks are going to get picks in the Lakers deal. It basically is a swap. The Knicks want to free up cap space. They want to free up spots for the young guys, McBride, Grimes, Quickly, things like that. So an Evan Fournier, Cam Reddish, Derrick Rose for Russell Westbrook, and the Lakers get to keep their picks. That's fair for all sides. But are the Knicks actually going to do that? Are they willing to cave to that degree? Even after the Donovan Mitchell trade, there's still reports that the Knicks are still interested in Russ. But are the Knicks going to want to move those, are going to be able to just do that trade without taking any first? It does make sense for the Knicks, but everybody wants the Lakers first. Now, the most realistic trade, and I think the one that if any trade happens, it's going to be the Jazz trade, just because Utah has to unload players. They have to unload 3 or 4 players just to get to the 15-man roster spot. So if that is to happen, you either do the Lakers deal or you move these guys individually. But then what is that going to cost the Jazz? Like, yeah, maybe somebody will give up something for Bogdanovich, but you can't do one-for-one swaps. So like the Jazz can't take back, trade Bogdanovich for, some random player. And now they have to move that guy. So it has to either be, a trade exception, or it has to be, an expiring player that they can waive or something along those lines. It can't just be like, oh, we're going to take this 3-year deal. Like, like a team like Miami, like they would move off of Duncan Robinson for like Bogdanovich and, Beasley or something like that in a heartbeat. Here you go. But that doesn't make any sense for the Jazz. The Jazz are a team that is, rebuilding. Why would they want to take on long-term salary? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, and they don't need to move off of these guys that bad. But the other option is we now have to give up assets to move Mike Conley. We have to give up a first for Mike Conley. We have to give up a first for Jordan Clarkson, or a couple seconds or something like that. Because teams know that the Jazz have to move off those guys. So if you're another team, why would I give you assets for these guys that you have to get rid of? Like, it's not like you can play. It's not like you can go into the season and you have until like the trade deadline. No, you have the season starting to move these guys. And if you don't move them, then yeah, so a lot of these guys are going to go for bags of chips. So how valuable do you value the Lakers picks? Because if you're the Lakers, you're not giving up both picks for that. You shouldn't have to, for one, and two, like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't upgrade you. And if a Kyrie or somebody comes, not saying that he will, not saying it's going to happen, but if he does want to come and the Lakers traded all their picks and they can't move off of a guy like Mike Conley, now Kyrie goes elsewhere and you had an opportunity to get Kyrie Irving, every Laker fan in the world is going to be screaming at the top of their lungs, like, you're an idiot, this, that, and the other. But those same people are the ones that are like, go do a trade, go do this, go do that. Like, I'm not against the Lakers standing pat if they have to. If the right deal is on the table, Russ is gone. Russ is gone this time last week if the right deal is on the table. But Rob is weighing his options. He's being smart. However you feel about Rob Pelinka, he has handled this very well. And I know people were like, why didn't they take this deal? Why don't we take that deal? I mean, the Kyrie deal, who knows how serious that was. And he didn't want to trade the pick. There's a reason that as soon as LeBron committed, boom, Rob Pelinka offered everything he has to go get Kyrie Irving. Why would you offer the farm when you don't know if LeBron is going to stay and he hasn't committed to you? If LeBron just went and told you, hey, I'll sign that extension, go do the Kyrie deal, then they probably would have done that. But no, that's not what ended up happening. LeBron was playing games, and then, fast forward and Kevin Durant stays, and now that trade blows up. Because what happens if you trade all your assets, you get Kyrie Irving, LeBron walks, and then Kyrie walks. Now you have no assets and you're a rebuilding team. That would have been the worst position the Lakers could possibly be in. So I'm not against Rob holding out for the Kyrie deal. The Pacers want way too much. The Knicks, they only wanted originally to do the deal in a 3-team deal with the Jazz, but who knows? Brian Windhorst also said that wasn't a thing, that the Lakers were never in those conversations. Yet everybody else in the world commented and reported that was the case, that they were going to be the third team. I don't know. I mean, this has been just an absolute roller coaster ride when it comes to like just the trades and the Lakers scenario. It's been a journey for sure. But I think if any deal is going to get done, it's the Utah Jazz deal. I think if the Jazz deal doesn't get done, then that's it. The Lakers stay pat with Russell Westbrook. And again, I don't think that's the end of the world. I think this team is going to be very good defensively. I think a lot of these guys are going to shoot better from the three than they've ever shot because they have guys like Russ and LeBron and AD creating for them. So they're going to be getting open shots like they've never gotten before. Like even the bubble team, the 2020 team that won the championship, we weren't very good from three. We were really good defensively. We had a bunch of guys that knew their role. We had chemistry. We had guys that, that could hit shots in right moments, things like that. But we had a dominant Anthony Davis, a dominant LeBron James, and that was great. This scenario, we have the same thing, only we have Russ now, and that's the big question, right? That's the big X factor. If Russ can get to being effective, then this team is better than that 2020 team, because that 2020 team did not have a Russell Westbrook that could do all the things that Russ could do and take the load off of LeBron, take the load off of AD. It's just right now we have these goggles on of like Russell Westbrook was terrible last season. How is that going to change? Now, I'm not saying it will, but if it does, this team is going to be really good. We have, a Thomas Bryant and a Damian Jones, so a younger Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. People are sleeping on Thomas Bryant if you don't think that man is a monster. That dude is a walking double-double if healthy. Guy that could shoot the three, play the four, You got Anthony Davis. You still got LeBron James. You got guys like Walker. You got guys like Austin Reeves, Troy Brown. Like, all of these guys. Like, compare them to that 2020 roster. Like, nobody, like, Pope was a journeyman. Like, Pope wasn't a hot commodity at that time. People were questioning how good is he and is he even a solid role player? He has his moments, he has his things here and there, but overall he's not that. Alex Caruso was an unknown. Nobody knew what Alex Caruso was going to do. Dwight Howard was basically out of the league at that point. Like, JaVale McGee was nothing more than a guy that has asthma that gets you 10 minutes a game. Like, all those guys on that team were all just great and knew their role and they had the chemistry, but none of those guys were these like big name, big highlights. I think a lot of people look at this Laker roster and just go, oh, like, I don't know any of these players, so they must be bad. Like, that's not the case at all. But anyway, those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, I pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. What do you think? Do you think this is the worst news possible? Do you think this is good news? However you feel about it, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions and everything we talked about here. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.